All right, meteorologist Joseph Neubauer here. We're coming on the air rather abruptly, coming on the air for a tornado warning in Santa Rosa and Okaloosa counties. Goes to 11:45. Thank you for joining us. Again, meteorologist Joseph Neubauer here, joining abruptly here through programming on ABC to tell you about this tornado warning on the central portion of Santa Rosa County, severe thunderstorm warning as well. That goes until 11:45. And then the tornado warning within this line of storms that's pushing on in. This also goes till 11:45 and includes just the western sliver of Okaloosa County. Really, it's Milton right now that is right on top of this potential tornado, right in this area, right there. A little notch of rotation being picked up back closer to the Escambia County, Santa Rosa County border. Now as it's pushed kind of towards US 90 and Milton proper, it still continues with that little notch of rotation. I'm going to step off here and kind of draw that out for you. This rotation we're looking at, this is not your traditional radar. This is quite literally velocity, wind direction, and strength is what we're looking at. A little bit different than what we normally show you with just rainfall. Velocity is a very helpful tool because it tells us where rotation is within very, very large thunderstorms that have a lot going on. You're looking at green colors and red colors that just indicate inbound and outbound wind. This green color over Milton is outbound wind that is pushing towards the radar site. That's way to the southeast. We have Eglin to our southeast. That we have a nice radar out that way. This green air is pushing to the southeast, and we have a little bit of red air or wind pushing away from the radar site down there to the southeast. And this little component that's being notched up near Milton is where the potential tornado could be. It's radar estimated rotation, so we're no confirmation of a tornado in Milton. But if you are in Milton and watching this, turn up the volume and step away from the television and go to your safe area, which is preferably on the lowest floor of your house. Also away from any windows, the exterior walls, get away from it. At home in Texas, dealing with tornadoes my entire life, it was the bathroom. We would go in, go to the bathroom, get right in the bathtub, and we put one of our smaller mattresses right on top of the bathtub if we had time, and we would ride it out away from the exterior walls and on the first floor of the house. I learned a lesson also in Texas with being on the second story while a tornado was happening. It is not fun stuff. So some easy ways to kind of get yourself to the safest point with this storm that is moving to the east at 50 miles per hour. This is moving very quickly. So let's give you a track. Everybody loves to see tracks on these type of storms. So let's go ahead and put in a track for where the rotation is and where it could be over the next 30 minutes or so. Not a lot out here, but what does worry me is we have US 90 and Interstate 10. It's Father's Day. People are out and about. We have Parkerville, small little town there across Interstate 10. You know some of the usual spots between Milton and Crestview. A lot of trees out there. Very similar drive as you go between Okaloosa and Santa Rosa County. But still, people take that road all the time. There's little burrows right along Interstate 10 and US 90. We want everybody in these areas to be prepared for a potential tornado. Let me put that back in loop, and you can kind of see how it follows my little cone here. So we're not dealing with heavily populated areas, but this is right over Milton, so this is the most heavily populated area. Afterwards, not so much. Right now, absolutely. Let's go back to radar. People like to see something that maybe they're a little bit familiar with. This is why we show velocity, ladies and gentlemen. What you're looking at is just a mess of thunderstorms. It's hard to discern in many ways what you're actually seeing here over Santa Rosa County. It just looks like heavy, heavy thunderstorms and severe thunderstorms. One thing I also want to talk about within this complex, other than the tornado warning, you're seeing bright colors. Again, we talked about velocity. This is wind speed and direction. Wind speed and direction. We showed you where the rotation was right over Milton, but one thing I also want to mention, there is a severe thunderstorm warning on top of all of this that I'm highlighting that goes from Munson down to Pace, all the way to just west of Crestview, down towards near Navarre even, US 98. This little area here, also near Pace and right near Milton, this is light colors. You can almost see how, I'm going to jump back on here, you can almost see how these lighter colors are on the far end of the spectrum here for our inbound winds that are pushing from west to east this way, wrapping around that rotation. These lighter colors indicate potentially 70 or more mile-per-hour wind gusts. I mean, 80s even on the table right now in terms of potential wind that we're seeing over Milton and over this portion of Santa Rosa County. So we have this little bit of rotation maybe east of Milton at this point, right along Interstate 10, and then you have all of this wind coming along with it. And we're even seeing some power flashes here at the station in Pensacola. We're seeing heavy thunderstorms, not quite severe, but still heavy thunderstorms. This light color indicating some wind concerns. No kidding. And then you have the tornado out ahead of it too, potentially as well. Still no confirmation. You see me walk off here because we have an open line to the Weather Service in Mobile. Our fantastic partners can let us know if something has been caught on the ground because they, just like us, are connected to storm chasers, viewers on the ground. If they see something, if we see something, we let them know, they let us know. It's a wonderful partnership. Right now, there is no confirmation of a tornado on the ground in Milton, but certainly looking at this signature, east of town, east of Milton at this point, coming up on Interstate 10, so that's great news for Milton, but you're still seeing some pretty strong wind, heavy rain as well. This is still concerning, which is moving to the southeast at about 50 miles per hour, so potentially some pretty rough wind at the very least over Interstate 10. And again, capable of producing 70-plus mile-per-hour wind gusts. I mean, this is a nasty thunderstorm. 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts now. So the Weather Service upgrading this entire complex of storms over Santa Rosa County. 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts potentially in this zone over Milton, just east of Pace, moving southeast at 50 miles per hour. So you have a tornado threat and a wind threat rolled into one, 2 for 1, a deal that you absolutely do not want, but that is the deal right now. I haven't even showed you the lightning, by the way. So much lightning across the area. We're taking the lightning off purely because you can't see anything going on underneath it. There's so much filling up our radar. One thing I want to mention as well, we do have a severe thunderstorm watch that does go until 12. My thoughts on this have been that they may extend this out a little bit longer. We haven't gotten that word yet, or at the very least I haven't seen it. What I have basically said today is that you need to stay weather aware at least until maybe 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I hate that for Father's Day, but it looks like even through the midpoint of the afternoon, this is going to be a troublesome weather pattern. It does look a little encouraging maybe on the backside as you kind of venture into portions of southeast Mississippi near Biloxi. I'm not seeing much out there, but there's still enough thunderstorms maybe forming right along the coastline there for Baldwin County and Mobile counties that it's going to keep us honest for a couple of hours. So going back to where we started, and by the way, we're going to stay on as long as we have this tornado warning. We have 80-mile-per-hour winds potentially. We potentially have a tornado on the ground along Interstate 10 east of Milton. We're going to stay on the air. We did this yesterday for our friends in Baldwin County. We had an EF2 tornado hit Pensacola on Thursday. This is what we extend to our viewers that are watching, this courtesy. This is our job, and we're going to, of course, be on the air for our friends there in Santa Rosa County. Even though it is moving over rural spots, it's moving over one of the busiest interstates in the country, Interstate 10. We've all taken it, and this is not a spot I like to see a tornado. I don't like to see a tornado anywhere, but even over Interstate 10 and somewhere busy like this, please, if you have anybody you know traveling between Pensacola, Crestview, I mean, I have friends and family that are traveling all across the viewing area today. Got to go to Crestview to visit Dad. Got to visit Mom or Dad down in Pensacola from Crestview. Same deal from Navarre, maybe to Panama City. Now is not the time to be driving on Interstate 10, at least this stretch. I would give it about an hour for this to kind of rain itself out, and then we'll reevaluate as we head towards 12 o'clock noon, which conveniently, going back to the severe thunderstorm watch, is when it expires. But there still is the concern that we could see additional thunderstorms post 12 p.m. So that's why we're keeping this around. This has been a level 3 out of 5 risk day, just a part of a really nasty pattern of storms. As I discussed, this all kind of started a couple days ago. EF2 tornado in Pensacola, and you can see that level 3 out of 5 entails some pretty nasty threats. Isolated damaging wind gusts for us in Alabama and Northwest Florida, the potential for large hail, some possible. You see that tornado signature right there? Some possible, and we could even see more storms another round overnight too. So it looks like the weather's just not letting up. Yeah, send all complaints to the weather itself, Mother Nature maybe, because at this point, this has just been a 7-8 day barrage of thunderstorms. So we're still on the air for this tornado warning. They've cut Milton out of the tornado warning. So at this point, I did allude to it maybe 5 minutes ago, you can get out of your safe area in some spots like Pace. And Milton, I would stay in your safe area just purely because the wind threat seems to be just substantial. We're still kind of getting little trickles of information in from that area, from the Weather Service, but we potentially had up to 80-mile-per-hour gusts for Milton, and that looks to continue because we're still seeing some pretty bright colors. As I mentioned, these bright colors indicate wind, speed as well. Right on the edge of that spectrum, we have like the maximum amount of inbound winds you could see physically from a radar, a Doppler radar, and the thinking from the Weather Service is that we could have 80-mile-per-hour gusts. On the high end, that's not for everybody, certainly. It's very isolated of a threat, but this is not an area you want to be. Going back to that tornado warning, we also use velocity to find rotation, and it looks like what rotation we do have over Santa Rosa County has really wrapped up. So this could be on the ground south of Interstate 10. Right there, we have green winds moving this way. We have red winds moving that way, inbound, outbound wind. You put these two vectors together and you get counterclockwise rotation in the mid-levels of the atmosphere looking into this thunderstorm. And when you have this type of signature, ladies and gentlemen, that you're looking at on your screen, more often than not, a tornado comes with it, at least in this case, a tornado warning. Still moving to the southeast at about 50 miles per hour. This is really moving along a line of storms, eventually into some rural locations for portions of Okaloosa County. But the next worry becomes our friends down in Wright. We have Eglin. We have Fort Walton Beach, Valpy, Niceville, areas there in southern Okaloosa County, Okaloosa Island. And while you're not under tornado warning, you can see where the storm's moving, and this is why we need to kind of stay on guard. So as I kind of throw my little cone on here, you're seeing nothing pop up, which means we're not really picking up much in terms of cities, places like that, which is great, but obviously a tornado on the ground is a tornado on the ground, and we don't have that confirmation, but certainly looks like this thing is tightening, and this is just not what you want to see. You like to see these things kind of spin up, wrap out, and then you're done. But right now, it continues, and we're going to stay on the air here for probably another 20 minutes at the very least. This goes till 11:45, and we're still dealing with the severe thunderstorm warning on top of it too. I want to make a note on that, 11:30 for the severe thunderstorm warning, not 11:45. But regardless, they may do some extending here into Okaloosa County for this severe thunderstorm warning as all of this more or less moves to the east-southeast at about 50 miles per hour. So not a fun day, not a fun morning, not a fun week for a lot of us here. And it does hurt me for fathers out there and for Father's Day to be dealing with this stuff. But it's just kind of the reality we've been set in, it feels like, for the last couple of days. I'm going to run a full track on this, getting some comments about that. Always like to answer you guys from time to time. It is busy here. It's just me here today. But as we look ahead at this line, if we take it on its speed right now, I'm going to get this where it's not covering up anything vital. You can see it's going to be in places like Crestview here very shortly, next 20 minutes or so. Niceville, if this does hold together, including the tornadic aspects of this storm, Niceville could see its own severe thunderstorm warning and potentially tornado warning by 11:54, so about the next 25 minutes. And then Destin, once we're crossing into the afternoon, this thing will be moving towards your area. So if you're in Okaloosa County where you're actually down near Fort Walton Beach, Wright, Destin, again, I mentioned Valpy, Mary Esther, you don't need to be in your safe area, but you sure need to be keeping an eye on the weather. If you're not watching, if you know people that are not keeping up with the weather, maybe not into television, that's fine. Let them know about this. I don't want people to get caught off guard with this. It is such a busy day, and a new severe thunderstorm warning has been extended now to include the rest of Okaloosa County. So that was the thinking, and there we go. This new severe thunderstorm warning for the remainder of at least Okaloosa County from Crestview down south goes till 12:15. I want to make a note, too, this also includes portions of southeast Santa Rosa County, all the way from Gulf Breeze, believe it or not, down US 98 towards Navarre. So Navarre and Gulf Breeze haven't really talked about you much here right now, but you're about to get some pretty heavy thunderstorms too. Navarre especially kind of concerns me because you're sort of on the end of this storm that you don't want to be on, where you're seeing sort of the wind threat, maybe not so much the tornado threat in Navarre, but certainly the wind threat. So right in this zone here, we have Navarre. It doesn't auto-populate, but kind of Xing it out there in this general location. You're very close to this leading edge of this line, and that's going to be moving in, and the concern would be some elevated wind, 60 to 70 maybe not 80, but 60 to 70, certainly stuff that can do damage in heavy rain too, kind of writes itself. And I'm going to throw lightning back on. Got a question about that. Can you show us the lightning? Well, this is why we're not showing you the lightning, because you essentially can't see anything. It is tough sledding trying to look underneath this lightning and see anything discernible. So we take that off for now. I'd say at this point, as Floridians, people from Alabama, we're pros at dealing with lightning. Get indoors. From Pensacola to Milton, Century, all the way back into southwest Alabama, Mobile, continue to stay indoors. And then if you're east of Milton, as we head into some of the rural spots of Santa Rosa and Okaloosa County, you need to be in your safe area. But this is pretty rural area, I'll be completely honest with you. But it poses enough of a threat for me, despite not being over anything condensed, that I'm going to stay on because it's pointed right down towards Wright, Niceville, Destin, Fort Walton Beach. And that's just something you don't want to see. These are heavily populated areas. You want to talk about heavily populated areas. I was talking a little bit about Milton earlier. Now it's moving into rural spots. Now, areas near the island, western end of Choctawhatchee Bay, that could be a concern down the road. I'm not drawing the track all the way down that way yet. I want to see what the Weather Service does as we go back to velocity. Looks like the rotation is maintaining itself. Also looks to have turned a little bit more easterly rather than southeast. So it's traveling more east than it is south, if that makes sense. So kind of swooping in that way. These storms have been almost unpredictable to some degree on an hour-by-hour basis. So you're going to get small wobbles like this. And we'll do our best. The Weather Service certainly knows that as well. Anybody down 85, if you have maybe family coming from Crestview to Niceville or vice versa, I would pull them off from that immediately. You're under severe thunderstorm warning, but you could end up being under tornado warning if the Weather Service chooses to take this another 30 minutes to the east. This goes until 12:15 till 11:45, so it's going to be a little bit longer with this tornado warning. And the rotation doesn't look quite as bad at the last scan. There's still a notch as it crosses now the county line in this area, but enough that I think they're going to keep it all the way through. You'll hear Allen and Brooks say oftentimes they may let this expire. They may let this expire early, and that certainly happens, but at this point we're close enough to 11:45 that we may keep this all the way through the allotted time that the Weather Service has given us. And again, it's sort of the promise we make here. We're going to stay on. As long as we have a tornado warning in northwest Florida, hey, we had an EF2 tornado just a couple days ago. Lives forever changed in Pensacola from the flooding. Allen was on for 3 hours. This is the same thing that we gave to Pensacola. We give that same coverage to people now in Okaloosa County. Looks like the worst of the wind has kind of moved out of Milton. So if you're in Milton, you can emerge from your safe spot. Although I would not go outside. I think that kind of, the weather itself can do the talking for me. I mean, it's rough here in Pensacola. Not quite severe, but we were having some lights flicker here for a short moment. All right, so severe thunderstorm watch goes for another 25 minutes or so. I'm trying to see if they have extended this. Again, one-man banding it here. They may let this go a little longer. That's kind of the running theory right now, is that this severe thunderstorm watch may continue to some degree after 12 o'clock. I'm not seeing anything official from the Weather Service yet, but that's kind of what I want people to pay attention to. It's not just going to be a clean break at 12 with this watch. This will be something we carry with us probably for a couple more hours. Looks like we actually did get something from the Weather Service, but it hasn't populated up yet. So we may have gotten some word about potentially some amendments to this current watch across the area. If we do get that, we'll let you know. Back to the severe thunderstorm warning and the tornado warning. You can see the severe thunderstorm warning is a large area potentially dealing with wind gusts up to 70, 80 miles per hour, stretching from Navarre all the way to potentially Crestview, although it looks like it may go south of Crestview. But Interstate 10, if you live on the south end of town, still a lot of stuff going on south of 10 near Crestview. Could see some of that strong wind, heavy rain and hail too, but it looks like Munson just stayed south of you. Same deal near Jay as well, back out to the west. So this is definitely favoring a more more southerly end of these counties, the central ends of these counties. Rotation not looking quite as bad either. Now we have multiple radar scans of rotation that's still there, but maybe not quite as vigorous. There's still a notch, though. We don't like to see that along lines of storms. Sometimes you'll get little hooks. You get straight line winds, but then sometimes the straight line winds kind of buckle. Bookend vortices. I can give you meteorology facts all day, but what you need to know is that there's still enough of a little hook within this line of storms that they're going to keep this warning almost certainly over the next 10 minutes or so. And what they may end up doing is they may end up actually extending it out a little bit because it seems to be almost outpacing its polygon, maybe moving faster than 50 miles per hour. Wouldn't surprise me either. That's why I've put so much emphasis on staying on and letting our friends there in Niceville, Valpy, right down to Fort Walton Beach, letting them know about this, even though you're officially not under tornado warning. This thing is really moving, and it's almost outpaced its entire polygon. But we'll see. The rotation doesn't look quite as bad. They may not extend it. If they do, you know we're going to be here. So let's see here. We have a new discussion from the Weather Service. The need for an additional watch is uncertain, although local extension may be considered. So right now, severe thunderstorm watch goes until 12, and they're considering extending it, which that is no surprise to me. It's kind of what we talked about this morning. 12 o'clock seemed a little early for this thing to be out of here. I mean, you tell me. You look at this radar, we have plenty of thunderstorms along the coastline still, and even more severe weather up towards Washington, Clark, Monroe, Conecuh, not quite in this. Some counties further north of 65, too. I'm not going to try to say that one on the left. I'm not sure what that county is, but up there in Alabama, you do know that. And then for us here in northwest Florida, some of these severe thunderstorm warnings go past 12. So I'd say next couple of hours, I can try to put on a future cast here, too. A little crude here, but it is almost like an open mic fireside chat here. You can see thunderstorms begin to kind of blow on out, for the most part, by about 3. That would be encouraging. You could maybe even have lunch with Dad or even dinner and not have to worry about weather for the first time in 7-8 days. That's a nice picture there at 6:35. How about that? But for now, thunderstorms remain. You can see Futurecast having a little trouble with that, but I'd say give it a few more hours. They may extend this an hour or two. And certainly with how fast this Futurecast cleans up, and most models do clean up into the afternoon, I can see why they're uncertain about extending this watch. But we'll let them do their due diligence. That's their job there. They have set people. Some do the watch, some do the warnings. And we'll let the people that do the watches, and we'll let you know as soon as we get more information. So here's the setup. We do have that tornado warning, severe thunderstorm warning. People continually joining in, by the way, purposely repetitive here. Not everybody's watching TV. Some people are now just finding out about this, and we welcome you to the program here. Tornado warning goes until 12:15, or severe thunderstorm warning, sorry, goes till 12:15. This goes until 11:45, this tornado warning. There's a lot going on here. That's one way to look at it. You can see where they're both going, south, southeast. And it really looks like we've lost a lot of rotation on this as it now begins to move outside of its red polygon, which is fantastic news, but this will still be a lot of wind for Okaloosa County, potentially up to 70-mile-per-hour winds in some spots for Okaloosa County. Even if we lose the tornado threat, which it looks like we have lost a lot of the rotation out of this line, this is still going to be a dangerous thunderstorm any way you slice it. So I've not gotten any reports. We have a line with the Weather Service, and they do give us reports. We give them reports, they give us reports, and at this time we haven't had any type of report of a tornado on the ground, although we did get a wind gust near Milton of 59 miles per hour. A wind gust of 59 miles per hour. That meets severe limits just about, if not right at the limit. So we're serious about this stuff. It's not for everybody. We'll use words like 70, numbers like 70 or 80 mile per hour winds. That's on a very isolated scale, but it can happen. We had an EF2 tornado hit Pensacola Beach, 120 mile per hour max winds. It's possible. It's not for everybody, but it's possible, and we'd like you to be aware of it. Severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning, we'd like you to be aware of both. So that's the velocity you're looking at, and we're seeing bright colors which indicate high winds, but what I'm not seeing is vigorous rotation, which makes me think they may let this expire. 11:45 again. Not to be confused with our severe thunderstorm warning Our very large yellow polygon, one of the larger ones I've seen in quite a while, that goes until 12:15. And an entry from the National Weather Service in Tallahassee. They've gone ahead and issued a severe thunderstorm warning for Walton, Bay, Washington counties. So if you're heading to Panama City, you got family out there, this is not the time to be on the roads. Again, Father's Day, you couldn't have drawn it up worse in terms of timing, brunch, early lunch. My dad loves lunch. This would be the time for me if I was hanging out with Dad right now. Hold off on it. If you can really hold off for the next hour or two, that would be the best. I want everybody to be safe. Again, Sunday is a tough day to have this happen, but it's just what we're being dealt with right now. So that goes until 12:45, moving very quickly, and you can again see with a severe thunderstorm watch that goes till 12 that we're kind of outpacing what our severe thunderstorm watch is. Ours goes till 12. These warnings are going past 12, so I need people to stay aware even as that watch potentially expires. Still no word on if that has been extended, although keeping a vigilant eye. From time to time, you'll see me quit talking. I go and check social media too. Always wonderful, wonderful things to be found there in terms of people on the ground and other reports there too. Not seeing anything of note just yet. I believe I'm also live on Facebook. I can't answer questions on Facebook, but believe me, I will go back and see if I can get some questions answered posthumously about what transpired. And you can always reach out to me too, Joseph Neubauer, hard last name, but Facebook and Twitter, if you get any storm reports, you can always direct those there. Heavy thunderstorms, by the way, I do want to mention, right there south of Perdido Key, or right on Perdido Key, Orange Beach, Gulf Shores. Not a great time to be at the beach. Maybe Dad likes to go to the beach. Not the day for it. Obviously lightning, drawing people out of the water. Let's see if I can get a tower cam, because in fact, we do have a tower cam that's based in Orange Beach, and I'd like to just take a sneak peek, if we can, of what's going on there in Orange Beach. I'm trying to keep a wide palette here for just about everybody. The rotation doesn't look quite as bad in Okaloosa County, so I digress for just a second to take a look at the other areas that people may be watching, and that is a rough image out of Orange Beach. As I anticipated, you can see the little brief flashes of light. That's lightning being picked up. Not the day to be outside there. No kidding, Joe. We'll come back to that maybe a little bit later. Pensacola, the view from there, not under any type of warning in Pensacola. Rain actually kind of coming to an end, although a little bit of wind, some raindrops still coming down. And then we wrap up with one of our other WeatherNet cameras before I get you back to the radar with our view out of Destin. Boats coming in. I hope that's what they're doing. I hope this is like the caravan of people saying, nope, okay, we're done, we're getting in, we're putting up the boat. That is my hope. Hopefully they've heeded my warning or the warning from their phone, and they're getting in because this is not boating weather. I believe we got some fishing going on this weekend too. Not great timing there as we go back to our radar. Another 3 minutes or so with this tornado warning. Once this tornado warning goes down, and if they don't extend it, I will go off air. I'll give you back your program, but the show won't stop. We'll continue with updates on Facebook, updates on Twitter, and the occasional update even here on WEAR News, Channel 3, ABC 3. Again, if you saw anything, any reports you want to give in a safe manner, you can always send that to Joseph Neubauer, Facebook and Twitter as well. No word yet if they're going to extend this tornado warning. Let's go back to rotation. There still is an area of broad rotation, right in this area near Wright. How about that? Right near Wright, north of Wright, north of the air base as well. Right in this zone. It's very subtle. Let's put that in motion. So still moving with that southeast movement. So yeah, I said it, Valpy, Niceville, Wright. Why don't we zoom in a little bit more? Lake Lorraine, I've been to some of these areas. Wonderful area. At the base too. Too close for comfort. You're just outside this warning box. Regardless, you're going to get heavy rain, lots of wind, severe limit wind. I mean, you're under a severe thunderstorm warning until 12:15, so you're going to get severe weather that rivals what we've seen back in Milton. And you know what? Since we do have a track on that severe thunderstorm warning, I can track this individual tornado warning inside this. So why don't we do it just as a hypothetical? There's no confirmation that this is even a tornado on the ground or if it will be extended, but if this were to make its way through the end of the severe thunderstorm box, you can see places like Valparaiso till 9 minutes, Postal 11, Villatasso, some of these spots now, you're getting towards Walton County, but the north end of Choctawhatchee Bay, Niceville, the next 10 minutes or so. Next 10 minutes for the Niceville area. We got a lot of towns rolled up there south of Highway 85 that kind of all come to a head right there on the north end of the bay. Next 10 minutes. So now is the time to get into your safe area. At least be close to your safe area. Tornado warning has been allowed to expire, so that's wonderful news. But I would be near your safe area. I would be safe area adjacent. That's a great way to put it. Safe area adjacent. Now is not the time to be a storm chaser. Get inside. Let the professionals do their job. This is still a very powerful thunderstorm that could bring up to, let's see what their latest estimate is. I'm still thinking close to 70. They're still going with a tag that is up to 80-mile-per-hour gusts. They've trimmed it too. I might stay on for a little bit here. Because 80-mile-per-hour winds, I mean, you're verging on the end of the spectrum for when tornadoes start to take over in terms of wind speed. And very heavy rain too. So still some very bright colors. If you've been watching, the brighter the color on velocity, the stronger your winds are going to be. And all of this, like a wall of rain, is drifting east at about 50 miles per hour. I believe that's why I use the word be near your safe area adjacently. Have it in mind, because this is still powerful stuff that could catch you off guard. And they're still putting a tornado possible tag on this severe thunderstorm warning. So this big box here that encompasses the rest of Okaloosa County. It's a severe thunderstorm warning, but they have a subline that says tornado possible. So they're not ruling out any re-intensification of this area of rotation. They're still keeping an eye on it. So are we. And within all of that tornado possible language, the wind threat that is coming up on Niceville right, again, Valpy, northern end of Choctawhatchee Bay here. And now probably less than 10 minutes. Still moving very, very quickly. I'm getting a couple of reports. And again, I thank everybody for being patient. Has a tendency to get repetitive here. One man banding it. But I appreciate everybody's patience. I'll get you back to programming soon. It has just been a rough couple of days. Believe me, I'd like some sleep too. But this is just the reality of the situation sometimes. Got a couple reports of trees down near Milton. We'll see if we can confirm that as well. Just getting certain little streams of data into our chat room with the National Weather Service. National Weather Service in Mobile issuing many of these warnings, all of these warnings just about, that you see on the screen. And we have an open line with them. And within that open line, other media partners give their reports, and some of the reports that are coming in are trees down in Milton. So with trees down in Milton and the same storm moving now south into Crestview towards Niceville right, it would almost be, it would almost be expected that there could be a little bit of wind damage out of this thing, even now as we head towards 1150. I think I'm going to stay on for this and see how this kind of resolves itself into Okaloosa County. Some of the damage that we get. Let's see here. We got a little bit of a, I'm not sure where this is. I got something sent on Twitter, a tree down. That might be near Pace, or that might be near Milton. Just checking these out. As we go back out to a wider view, there's where most of the storms are. Take the lightning off. Still a severe thunderstorm warning for that whole area in Okaloosa County that goes till 12:15. And still a destructive tag on it of 80-mile-per-hour winds at the highest absolute end, now moving into the right Fort Walton Beach, Valpy, Niceville area. So this is now essentially coming in there near Fort Walton Beach, and then Niceville within the next 5 minutes. In Crestview, it's been on the south side of town for just a little bit, but now it is fully in. Halfway through Okaloosa County, I would expect at this point, going till 12:15, and then Destin next 5 minutes as well. So putting another track on this at 50 miles per hour, right in this zone here, we are basically ready to go here for the rest of the areas. Miramar Beach, 12:03. So this should be at Destin by 12, if not before 12 o'clock. And then Crestview, it says a couple more minutes, but it's within you at this point. And then Niceville, next couple of minutes as well. at this point, close to your safe area. This is not a tornadic thunderstorm at this time, but it's still producing very, very strong winds, no kidding, lots of lightning, heavy rainfall, and as we've discussed on velocity, there still has been just a little bit of rotation noted, but not quite as tight and not quite as jarring as it was over Santa Rosa County. I mean, we quite literally had a classic little couplet of rotation. Let's go back a little bit. This was at 11:25 over Santa Rosa County, exiting Milton. Milton at this point was getting barraged with wind. This little couplet here was what really clued in the Weather Service and us. And as it pushed past, you can see how it kind of just fizzled out. But the winds stayed very bright on this map. And with these colors staying very bright, as do the winds stay strong. So that's the concern there. Really just wind at this point and heavy rainfall and driving conditions that you should not be out in. Moving east-southeast at 50 miles per hour. So one more severe thunderstorm warning, then I'm going to give it for a couple more minutes. I'm going to let this kind of move into the Destin area before I let you guys go. Saw all those boats coming in, which makes me think people are aware, which is fantastic news. Let's see if we can turn the camera around there in Destin. I'm going to go back to that. Oh, wow. A wonderful photo and picture out of Destin. So let me go ahead and put this on air for you. People exiting Crab Beach. I'm sure it was a very packed weekend out there as well. And again, I apologize for being a little repetitive here. That's how these things tend to go when it's just one-on-one. But I appreciate you being patient, getting people safe. Yeah, you can see the clouds moving in real time, by the way. This is not sped up. There's no alteration here. I'm moving the camera physically. I mean, unbelievable outflow at the little kind of wall cloud feature there being drawn up in Destin. Just unbelievable picture there as storms now roll into Destin. I said before 12 o'clock, around 12 o'clock. It's 11:51, and there you go. Beginning to see some shaking there of the camera. This is on the Emerald Grand, right by the bridge. You can see the boats coming in. This is the time to get in. If you have friends in Destin, you know they like to take the boat out, let them know. Not everybody watches television, so I'd like as many people as possible to be aware of what's coming up on eventually now. Destin, it's over the island at this point, Okaloosa Island, that is. And they still have that destructive tag on it. And when I say destructive tag, that is a tagline that the Weather Service uses to sort of discern between your run-of-the-mill severe thunderstorm warning, which can still be very powerful and deadly, but leveling up almost a severe thunderstorm warning to something that might be a little bit stronger, more concerning than it already is. And this has that level up destruction tag for wind. Because we've seen severe thunderstorm warnings, all types of severe thunderstorm warnings in this area, and you know, some are stronger than others, and the Weather Service has tried to kind of organize that up a little bit to make some warnings stronger than others, and this one definitely takes the cake for not a tornado, but still one of the higher end severe thunderstorm warnings that they can really put out there. I'd imagine now, yes, moving right into Niceville at this moment. Let me take off some of these boxes, a little distracting. Let me slow down the speed too. Yeah, right near Blue Water. Moving in, we used to have a camera out there. That would have been fun. Valpy, Eglin Village, Lake Lorraine, Fort Walton Beach, certainly in the thick of it now. We have the Gulfarium as well in this zone. There's the island. We just got an update of the severe thunderstorm watch as well. Let me see if I can get that for you guys. Let's see. There's been an update to the severe thunderstorm watch, excuse me. We'll see if I can get an update to that. I'd imagine it goes for a few more hours. They've gone ahead and updated it to, it looks like maybe 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Either 4 or 5 o'clock. I'll get that for you in just a second. It's going to come up. That's where the worst of it is right now, right over Okaloosa County. And let's see, so downed trees in Milton. We're still getting reports of downed trees in Milton. So when it is safe enough, there's still a lot of lightning out that way. When it is safe enough, way too much lightning. Please be careful. In fact, don't go out there and take a photo of your tree unless you can do it maybe from the inside of your house. Alan showed this a couple days ago. This is a wonderful impression of just how much lightning. I'd wager, yeah, north of 5,000. 5,000 strikes. This goes in increments of 30 minutes, so this is the last 30 minutes. It's not all at once. I'll be honest with you there. But 5,000 strikes over the last 30 minutes rivals some of the lightning that we saw Thursday when we had that flooding rain. Maybe not quite as much. Also, it's not dark like it was Thursday night. Might not look as quite as jarring, but I'm sure it's just as loud. No kidding. One of the reasons why we haven't shown lightning on our maps today, because you quite literally can't see anything underneath it. When you do have that lightning product up, it covers up just about every single thunderstorm you could find. So it looks like they extended the severe thunderstorm watch. This is why you had me kind of flabbergasted for a second. They've cut out the severe thunderstorm watch, I think, for the rest of Northwest Florida. This includes this includes Okaloosa County, Santa Rosa County, Escambia County, but they keep the severe thunderstorm watch going for some portions of southern Alabama and then Walton County on east towards Tallahassee. So this is a brand new severe thunderstorm watch that they're going to carve out. So you go to my graphic here, and my graphic auto updates. It's going to at the top of the hour, and they're going to add in, I can roughly draw it for you. Again, a little crude here. They're going to draw in essentially the rest of the Florida Panhandle, what we maybe would consider Northwest Florida, not the entire Florida Panhandle, southern Alabama. They're going to draw in areas near Dothan, even into parts of Georgia. This will go till 5, and then they're going to let, I think, some of this go here. So this will kind of be check marked off, and we may sort of transition into an easier going rest of the day. But to get there, we need to get through one more severe thunderstorm warning that I am hanging on for. Let's go back to Destin and see what's going on that camera. Sometimes the best way to just see what's going on is just to look out there. Step outside for a second via our WeatherNet camera. Don't physically step outside. Again, I appreciate the nice comments. I've gotten a couple. Yeah, absolutely nothing. That's the view from Destin. So that's what you would expect inside a thunderstorm. I'm going to move it around a little bit so we can get maybe a point of origin maybe to show us just how heavy the rain is. Let's turn towards the harbor. You can kind of see the harbor on that end. It's a little more shielded from the rainfall. Just sheets of rain. Boats still coming in, although they're in the harbor now. I guess that's a safer place to be, but still severe winds, 60-mile-per-hour winds plus, potentially up to 80, rolling on into Destin. Still keeping an eye out for any more storm reports for portions of Okaloosa County now. We've had several trees down in Milton, and now we're kind of turning our attention to what we've seen and what we are seeing in Okaloosa County. 12:15 on this, so we're going to go for just a couple more minutes. I'd implore people to be patient. We'll get you back to programming, but this is still a very nasty thunderstorm for our friends there in Okaloosa County. Colors are still bright, maybe not quite as bright, but still enough. It's close to the radar site. You can see the radar site, how it kind of sits on the east end of Walton County. This is what I've been kind of calling out. The green colors are winds that are moving towards this radar site. The red colors you see on velocity are winds that are moving away from the radar site out there to the east. And when we get them real up close with each other, these two colors real up close with each other, you can get rotation, tornado warnings. Not seeing that right now, but at the very least we're seeing some of these colors on the inbound side of winds that are coming in and going east. Right there on my legend as I'm drawing on the map, we're getting inbound winds that are very bright and really on the fringes of the legend that we have on our little banner here, which tells us that these are very strong winds. And they're happening close to the surface because we're getting closer and closer to that radar site. The farther away you are from a radar, you're looking further and further up into a storm. But if a storm forms close to a radar site, you're getting a better picture of what's maybe going on the surface. And the fact that these storms are keeping a lot of their brightness on velocity tells me that we're getting some pretty nasty winds potentially close to the surface in and around the western end of Choctawhatchee Bay, near Valpy, Niceville, once again, northern end of Fort Walton Beach, the air base, coming up on 85. Rest of the area, you can see not much. We still have some pretty heavy thunderstorms on the south end of Escambia County, the Perdido Bay and Orange Beach, still dumping lots of heavy rainfall that, by the way, we do not need We got 20 inches of rain by radar estimate just about in some of these areas. And also still dealing with a few lingering thunderstorms through Mobile Bay. Why these are important for our Northwest Florida viewers watching, well, they're still moving to the east, so we may not be done, but it looks like they're going to let that watch expire. We're going to take a look at that watch, by the way, here in about a minute or two. And we still have severe thunderstorms up to the north. Clark, Monroe, Wilcox counties. So that's pretty far up there, but we want to let you know about it on the Northwest Florida side of things, because typically what Alabama gets, we get seconds or thirds. Do a lot of their damage out that way, and then they move on in. But still, they can be pretty strong here, even after they're done with Alabama. So right over the bay now, Choctawhatchee Bay, this severe thunderstorm warning has moved. Destin, right in the thick of it now. Fort Walton Beach, still dealing with it. Niceville, in the thick of it. Crestview, looks like the worst of it really on the south end of town. I'm talking Interstate 10 down 85. And then Defuniak Springs, you know, we get some viewers that kind of trickle in out of Walton County. It's going to be very soon for you as we put a track on it here. Let me wrap up, just put a bow on this in terms of tracking the thunderstorms. A lot of people love to see this. Yeah, Miramar Beach, essentially right now. It doesn't have Defuniak Springs on it, but Pleasant Ridge is a close enough guesstimate. Pleasant Ridge probably in about the next 10, 15 minutes. So about next 10, 15 minutes for Defuniak Springs. So it's really hauling down Interstate 10. Freeport, next 15 minutes or so. Red Bay a little bit farther out. We have Miller's Ferry. That's way out there, but next 30 minutes or so too on that one. Going back to Velocity, still dealing with those lighter colors. All right, so it's 12 o'clock. So as I said, they have removed us, but they've kept some of southern Alabama underneath this watch that will go till 5. And we're going to see pink pop up for the rest of the panhandle here very shortly. So doing sort of a crude little drawing here. That's what you need to do sometimes. This is a computer automated thing. It will pop up when it pops up, but new watch is going to go till 5 o'clock. I can go ahead and actually change that manually so we don't have to wait on the computer. Till 5 p.m. right there on the top there. So we're not done. Southern Alabama still gets us here on television, and I'd assume the reason why they're keeping them underneath this is that you still have thunderstorms northwest of I-65 that are moving in and that are going to kind of progress their way east throughout the early afternoon now. So, and you can see a little bit developing as you go further south, so we may not be completely done here in Northwest Florida. That's why I've stayed kind of aware that this may not be something that just poof and ends after 12 o'clock. We're still going to have some thunderstorms that could at least impede outdoor plans, grilling with dad, activities like that. So heaviest storms, as I've said, Niceville, Destin, Fort Walton Beach, beginning to wind down to a degree. It's maybe not quite as bad as it was 5 minutes ago. Still dealing with lots of rain. Navarre, it's cleaned up a little bit. Pensacola, not seeing much rain. Towards Warrington, NAS out that way, you're seeing a little bit of rain kind of build back in. Don't need that over there as well. One of the other big spots that saw rain. But it looks like most of it has moved off now. We're kind of hitting the point where we're really talking about Walton County rather than Okaloosa County. So I think this should be a good stopping point. We'll give people back their programming here. I'll end with the view out of Destin, which gives a great representation of what's going on in Okaloosa County. Just give it a second to load up. I'm sure it is not a smooth connection with the weather that we're seeing in that area. Very, very rough out there. Sheets of rain coming down, potentially 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts, as high as 80 have been at least in some of the tags that we've seen, and that caused some wind damage back towards Milton. We have a live show coming up at 5, by the way, WEAR News at 5. We're going to talk more about that damage, and if we get any new reports out of Okaloosa County, we'll be sure to let you know on that as well. I did mention, too, Thursday night we had that tornado in Pensacola that has been rated an EF2 tornado. All that flooding you saw on Thursday night, that tornado as well, EF2 tornado from Pensacola, West Pensacola, all the way to Pensacola Beach, EF2 with max winds of 120 miles per hour. That was the report from the National Weather Service in Mobile. 3 days later, we're still dealing with severe weather. We'll keep storms in the forecast for a little bit through this afternoon. We'll have more rain as we head overnight into Monday, too. More thunderstorms possible as we open up the work week that we will detail coming up at 5 and at 10 o'clock as well. I'll send it back to programming now. Thank you so much for being patient with me. If you're in Okaloosa County, continue to stay hunkered down.